So what is this stuff anyway? If you've ever opened your medicine cabinet and found a small tub of clear jelly-like goo called Vaseline, you might have used it for chapped lips, dry elbows, or maybe even to keep a new tattoo moisturized. But what is Vaseline really, you might wonder? Where does it come from? And how is this semi-solid balm actually made? Most of us have grown up with it somewhere in the house, but few of us know how it's produced or even what it's made from. So let's get into it and peel back the shiny lid right here on History of Simple Things. Let's start at the very beginning. Vaseline, at its core, is made from petroleum jelly, a byproduct of oil drilling. It all goes back to the mid-19th century when oil drilling was still in its infancy. In 1859, workers at Pennsylvania oil fields noticed a gooey substance building up on their drilling rigs. They called it rod wax. It would gunk up the machinery, and at first it was just a nuisance. But some workers started applying this rod wax to cuts and burns, claiming it helped them heal faster. That caught the attention of a young chemist named Robert Cheesebro. Fascinated by this crude residue, Cheesebro decided to refine it and eventually branded his purified version as Vaseline. The name itself is a blend of the German word for water, Wasser, and the Greek word for oil, Elion. Cheesebro's Vaseline was introduced in 1872, and it was marketed not just as a healing balm, but as a kind of miracle substance for skincare, lubrication, and household use. Over time, it became a staple around the world. But to understand how Vaseline is made, we need to dive into how crude oil is transformed into something you can safely rub on your skin. Now here's the wild part. Vaseline starts as crude oil, the thick, dark, smelly stuff that comes out of the ground. Crude oil is a complex mix of hydrocarbons, and once it's extracted, it goes through a refining process. This involves heating the oil in giant distillation towers where different components separate out based on their boiling points. The lighter fractions become gasoline, kerosene, and jet fuel. The heavier, waxier leftovers, those are the parts that eventually become petroleum jelly. But don't worry, we're not slathering raw crude on our lips. This waxy residue undergoes a rigorous purification process. It's filtered, distilled again, and decolorized to remove any harmful substances, odors, or impurities. The result is a clear, odorless substance that's safe for topical use and approved by medical agencies around the world. This base is what manufacturers call white petroleum jelly, and it's the essential building block of Vaseline. The purification process, so how do they take something so industrial and turn it into a clean, skin-safe product? The transformation, well, it really hinges on several steps of extreme refinement. One method used is called vacuum distillation, which involves heating the petroleum under reduced pressure to boil off unwanted compounds at lower temperatures. This avoids breaking down the jelly's molecular structure. The material is then filtered through layers of bleaching clay or activated carbon, which help to remove color and trace contaminants. At this point, the jelly is transparent or milky white and completely odorless. But the process doesn't end there. To meet health and safety standards, the jelly is tested for purity, especially if it's going to be used in cosmetics or medical products. This includes screening for polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PHAH, which are potentially carcinogenic and must be minimized to trace amounts or eliminated entirely. Only after passing this gauntlet of testing does the petroleum jelly get approved for the next phase, turning it into the Vaseline we know and recognize. From jelly to jar. Once purified, the petroleum jelly is transferred into large mixing vats. Here, other optional ingredients may be added, like fragrances for scented varieties or vitamins for cosmetic blends. For the classic Vaseline you find in most drugstores, though, it's usually just the pure jelly, untouched. At this stage, the substance is still warm and somewhat fluid, which makes it easier to handle. It's then dispensed into sterilized containers, those familiar tubs or tubes. While it's still soft, as it cools, it solidifies into that semi-solid gel form we all recognize. Vaseline doesn't spoil or go rancid because it's inert, meaning it doesn't react easily with other substances. That's one of the reasons it has such a long shelf life. After the packaging stage, the containers are sealed, labeled, boxed, and shipped all over the world. From oil fields to factory floors to your bathroom shelf, it's quite the journey for something so simple. Why does Vaseline work so well? One of the biggest questions people have is, why does Vaseline work so effectively on dry or damaged skin? The answer lies in its occlusive properties. Vaseline doesn't actually hydrate your skin. It creates a protective barrier that locks in the moisture already there. Think of it as sealing a leaky container. By preventing water from escaping through the skin, Vaseline helps keep things soft, supple, and protected, especially in harsh climates. This barrier also keeps out irritants and bacteria, which is why it's often used on minor wounds and scrapes. Despite its oil-based origin, Vaseline is non-comedogenic, which means it won't clog pores for most people. It's been used in everything from baby care to long-distance marathons to beauty routines. In fact, many makeup artists use a thin layer of Vaseline to create a dewy glow or to tame eyebrows. So there you have it. Vaseline, a product that starts out as a sticky byproduct from the depths of the earth, goes through an intense refining journey to become one of the most trusted skincare staples in the world. It's one of those rare things that has stood the test of time. Not because it's fancy or trendy, but because it simply works. Whether you use it to soothe cracked heels, protect your lips, or rescue dry winter hands, you're using something with over 150 years of history behind it. The next time you dip your fingers into that smooth, clear jelly, you'll know exactly how it got there, from oil rigs to refinery towers to the little jar by your sink. And that's Vaseline. Another simple thing with a not-so-simple backstory. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.